Hey there, I'm Brittany Schroeder, and business and marketing are my jam. I'm here to walk you step by step through this crazy thing we call business. I'm a small town girl, chocolate eating, Diet Coke drinking mom, marketing guru, automation Jedi, and all around good time. This is your weekly dose of all things business and life, sprinkled with some fun. This is the Redefine Business Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Redefine Business Podcast. I am so excited for my guest today because y'all know that I love to talk money and investing and finance. So I have been a longtime follower. Welcome to the podcast, Brennan from the Budgetdog. Welcome, Brennan.
Thank you, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. We want to hear your story. Tell my listeners just a little bit about who you are, where you got started, where you're at, all the things.
Yeah. So current day, I'm almost 32. Probably when this podcast is out, I'll be 32 in about a month. So, dating myself a little bit, going back to about 23 years old is right when I graduated college. And I came out of college with the typical debts. You get a house, you propose to your fiance and you're trying to get married, and there's a ring that comes with that. You're getting cars, you just got out of school, so you have student loans. All of that stuff piled up really quickly. And it wasn't that I was not informed about all this stuff. It just came on at a very fast rate. And all of a sudden we went from, let's call it zero debt, to $304,000 of debt, across the whole entire pie. And I looked at my wife and I said, we need to do something about that. And we need to do something fast about this because I don't like that. And that wasn't what I was expecting our life to start out like. But it's the same for most people out there, unfortunately. And these weren't crazy bad debts. They were, cars and houses and student loans, like things that everybody has. And it really raised a lot of red flags for me and rubbed me the wrong way. So with my CPA background, I started at Deloitte and I said, I need to fix this. And so I started creating an entire game plan to get out of this debt for my wife and I. And we made, crazy strides at a very fast rate. And by the end of it, I was, actually in the middle of it, I was like, I'm helping my friends and family and I'm talking to people about this offline. Before Budgetdog even became a thing. And I showed people and I was getting crazy results offline. So my wife kept saying, get online and you should promote this to other people. Like this could really help a lot of people. And I kept saying, nobody's going to care about this stuff. There's no way anybody cares about this stuff. And so she kept, pestering me, just get online. And I'm a pretty private person, to be honest. So Instagram didn't really sound like the vehicle for me. But anyways, long story short is I actually got onto Instagram and I started my account. I didn't know what the name should be. And so I looked at my dog and I was looking at my wife and like, what should the name be? Maybe finance and pets or something like that. Like, I feel like both people love that stuff. And so I looked at my dog and I was like, Budgetdog, like that would be a pretty cool name. And my wife and I were laughing about it. So we just did it. And it was a profile picture of him, side profile picture from a dog point of view, delivering great personal finance knowledge, like puppy service announcements, like PSAs and stuff like that. So that was like my beginning stages. That was kind of let's call it the embarrassing stage. Then about 5,000 followers in, I was like, okay, people like this stuff, but now they've realized I'm not a dog. I need to kind of elevate the brand a little bit. So I took myself and I changed the whole entire brand. I took him off the profile picture, put myself on there, started getting IG lives. And we're here today and we've helped thousands of people, in fact, over the last 5 years do a lot of the stuff we've done plus more. And it's very encouraging every day to, meet with these people, talk to them, and just get to know everybody.
Yeah. Do you find that people come to you when they are already sinking in debt, or do you feel like it's people that are what's your ideal client? What are you seeing that is coming to you?
Yeah, I see all sorts of different types of people. Here are the three people I most often deal with. Somebody that is sinking in debt, has no idea what to do. The person that really doesn't know how to start investing at all. They're like, hey, I really want to invest. I just don't know where to start. So either the debt or investing piece of it. And the third person, somebody that's actually really well off from an income perspective, but they don't really know what to do. They don't know how to maximize their money. They don't know how to game plan for the future. And they're just kind of like, they're living, they're doing okay, they're paying their bills, but they're not really making real progress. And these are people making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. I've had people upward of millions of income per year and just not knowing what to do with it. And those are my three primary clients, people I work with the most often. Anytime you have a decent income, you can move pretty fast. Income is speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love when I always grew up, I had a grandmother that was like 529s and like stock. She loved the stock market. Right. And she is such a funny story because she was a bus driver and my grandpa was a farmer and they looked so poor. And I kind of always joke because like she loved BMWs. So she would get a brand new BMW, but she only shopped at garage sales. So she had Betty Boop floor mats in her BMW, and she would only drive her BMW to garage sales. And she had a little clunker that she drove everywhere else. But so I love what you say. You always talk about like giving your kids like wealth, and it's like knowledge is power. And so I have like my 19-year-old son, he has like a Roth IRA and he's super into like watching his money grow. And I've even learned, so I kind of grew up with that, but now I like know more and I teach it to my kids. And it's like knowledge is power, like make your money like work for you. And so I just think it's interesting because if we are doing our kids like an awesome service when we're educating them about money, so.
100%. The education side is the most important side of it, the value side of things. Because I talk about, investing for my daughters quite often, and I'm very open about that. I get a lot of backlash, and it's part of being online. But I think it's a middle class mindset not to put your kids forth in whether it be like an extra dollar, or $100 or $250. I don't care what it is, but teaching them that responsibility of handling big dollar amounts. I think there's actually a benefit. A lot of people are like, well, my kid needs to struggle because I struggled. I'm like, they can struggle and they can build character in other ways. And there can be values taught in the household, and there can be leadership in the household. That doesn't necessarily say because they have money equals trust fund baby in the negative sense. It's a silly way to think about it. I've never met a wealthy person that said that to me. It's always a typical middle-class mindset that's thinking like, hey, I've been held back. I need to hold my kids back because that's how I got it out of the mud. And I think it's just a silly way to look at it. But it's really important, the knowledge aspect of it, and putting your kids in a mature mindset at a young age, within reason, obviously, I think is really, really important when it comes to helping your children down the line.
Yeah. So that's super interesting that you say that, because I personally am a trust fund baby myself, because like I had this rich uncle that passed away and my grandma set up a trust fund. So I had my education paid for, and I had this grandmother that like invested for, the 529. She wouldn't give us Christmas or birthday presents, which we never missed or forgot, but she invested in our 529. Right. So then come college, I'm like, oh, sweet, my college is paid for. But I also grew up country and on the farm. I worked all through college. I saved, like I paid for, my ex-husband, he has like, I paid for his college. I paid for like the first down payment on our house. And I had all of this stuff, but I worked, like I knew how to work because I grew up taught how to work. And that was just like kind of an extra. So I totally agree with you. And it's funny because my friends who have that same mindset that you had previously mentioned about, I struggled, so they need to struggle. Like they still are struggling. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like they keep digging themselves in these bigger holes. So it is right. Kind of, I totally agree with you. I was going to ask you, like, how do you teach your kids? Like you want to create wealth for them, but you want to teach them work ethics.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that.
They're young right now. So I have a newborn. She's 2 months old. So she's pooping and peeing still. She's not going real far with life at this moment.
Yeah.
The other one's only 2 years old. So she's pretty young too. She's also got what's called Dravet syndrome, which is why I moved across the country and all this kind of stuff. And so, from a development standpoint, even just a natural 2-year-old it's very tough to really be teaching this stuff at that point. They look at you, they watch what you do, every movement that you make. I think that's just in general a leadership role in the household. As they get older, I think talking to them about saving a portion of money, or talking to them even about our personal finances in the house, and also them seeing what we do with our money. Like, I think it's really important for them to be able to see that, hey, mom and dad gave money to this organization, let's call it Dravet syndrome, to help a bunch of people. And like, they don't need to know the exact dollar amount. They don't need to know the exact details of everything, but the idea that we can give and be okay. And like, you shouldn't feel as if like you're always trying to hoard everything, but you can give and make the world a better place with your money. And like, that's the overarching premise of my brand is you can help the world. Like, I like to build wealth, but I don't like just to build wealth for the sake of building wealth. I like to build wealth for a purpose. And I think that's become our purpose with time over the last year or two, is like being able to give back, being able to help her progress, being able to help people like her progress as well. And we have a huge goal of giving $1 million to Dravet syndrome in 2024 and beyond. So, and we're going to do that. So, helping her, show her how we're doing this, how we're helping, I think is so important when it comes to your children and stuff versus just saving or just spending. And one thing my mom did for me growing up was, my parents did not teach me about money in the least. They didn't know, they couldn't tell me what a Roth IRA is, anything. So I've taught everything myself. But one good tip that they've actually really instilled in me from a young age is we would get envelopes and we would have $5 every single week if we did our chores, which that was a hit or miss. But, if we did our chores, they would tell us to put $2 in spend, $2 in save, and $1 in give. So of the $5, 20% was going to the church, or giving or whatever. Another 40% was going to saving, and then 40% was to spend, and that's okay to spend as well. And I think having a healthy medium of all that stuff is really important to teach kids at a young age.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about what you do is, because when I was growing up, I thought we were poor, but like, as I got older, because like my dad drove this, like, I'm not even kidding, piece of junk car. It started with a screwdriver. I'm not even kidding. My dad was like, really, I'm not even going to say frugal. I'm going to say cheap. Right. But like, we had horses and we had a boat and we had like trailers and we had like a really nice house. But my dad like lived very like budgeted and stuff, but we had these nice things. We weren't like flashy or anything. And so as I got older, I was just kind of like, I kind of put it together, like, we're not poor, are we? You know what I mean? And I put it together. And so, but one of the things that I love that you do is you talk about like, you sacrificed to build your wealth. And I think in our world right now, everything's so clickbaity, like get rich quick. And like, like, oh, like you can make like, $50,000 by investing in this. And I love that you are like a realist and you're like, no, like I did not get rich quick. Like we sacrificed, we invested, we were smart, we were humble. And I think that we're going up against, even me, like I'm a business coach and I am like a realist and I'm like, I can teach you how to grow your business, but like if you don't work and you're not smart, you're not going to make money. Like that's just how it is. There's not an easy button in anything. Like you have to be smart. And I love that you do that.
Yeah, there's not an easy button in anything. And the thing is, like, as simplified as I make finance, from an understanding and educational angle, it still takes discipline. And like, that's why I often say, if you're building wealth and you're not automating all of your stuff, it's going to make it really hard because then you're relying on yourself. And discipline isn't natural for a lot of humans. It's a struggle to be disciplined, like for anybody out there, even somebody that's the most disciplined person in the world, like a Navy SEAL, they're still going to train their mind to be disciplined. And the fact that you have to train your mind means that, hey, where we can optimize and automate this process, let's do it to prevent ourselves from overthinking. It's like the ever old, CEO that wears the same shirt every day because they don't want to overthink about the silly stuff. It's like, if we can easily automate our debt pay downs, our investments, our bills, just go ahead and do it. Keep the easy, or throw the easy stuff to the side, make it really, really simplified. And then on the hard stuff, that's when you train your mind to go over, above and beyond and see the bigger picture as to your why. And when you understand that and you understand really truly what you're doing as to why you're doing it, hey, I don't want to just build wealth to become a millionaire, but I want to become a millionaire because X, Y, and Z, because I want to be able to help, a ton of families do whatever your why is. There's no right or wrong, but just whatever your is, really write that down, hammer in on that so that you're training your brain when times get tough as to not give in to the easy stuff. Because it's easy. It's like, hey, I want to, be, let's say I'm 200 pounds right now and I want to get to 210. Well, I was just 210. I got down to 200. I keep going back and forth because I want to choose to like put on muscle. Then I want to cut, the whole fitness thing, which is silly. But when I want to get to 210 and I want to gain those 10 pounds, I'm really focused in on my macros, specifically my macros to get to that weight. And I know exactly the plan. but I'm going to feel on a Friday night to eat pizza. I am, because I'm human. And so I need to make sure that I know why I want to get that 210, not just, hey, I just want to get to 210 because of X, Y, and Z, and having that why in the back end. And then if I want to cut one, I go through a cutting season versus bulking. Then I go down to cut and say, okay, well, now it's even harder if I want that pizza, because it's really going to take me away from my goal of cutting. It might have been easier to kind of skate by growing, but understanding the why as to why you're trying to get to something is going to always, be ingrained in your mind, because the easy stuff is always you're naturally going to cater to the easy route. Like that's just what you're going to want to do. And it's a mental strain to take yourself out of that. So before you start, automate as much as you can. And then for the tough stuff, have that big why. Whether literally on my phone, I have something that's a tagline, a quote that I live by every single day. I have quotes on my whiteboard, so I see it in front of me every single day as to my why and stuff like that. And it's super powerful to have a lot of success with.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm actually in my business as a business coach. I teach people how to automate. I'm always automate this stuff. And then it's less of something you have to worry about. You can focus on, doing other stuff. So I love that you say that. The other thing, and this is the advice that I give my friends who aren't good at saving. They're like, how did you save? You have all this retirement. How did you save? And I said, you have to treat it like a bill. It's automated. And if you don't have, it's not well, if I have extra money, I'll invest it. It's a bill. And it's like paying your electric. You invest. And if you need more money, you got to figure out somewhere else to cut. You don't, but the kind of the crazy thing that I love about what you teach that's totally helped me is I was investing, but I didn't understand. So I was getting $50 a month as a young college student put into a Roth IRA, just automatically. And so I had that base, but I didn't understand. I wasn't investing it in the right, because you let somebody else do it or set you up, and sometimes they don't even know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And so
exactly.
I had that investing part, but I didn't have the educating on, okay, what I should be investing in, and, what different index funds and, ETFs and all of that. So I've learned so much. So I've got a way better return since I started following you. I will say
That's
that.
great to hear. There's two things to that as well. One, if you don't know why you're doing something, which you mentioned, hey, I was investing money, I didn't really fully know what I was doing. That is easy to then go back on when times get tough to withdraw that investment and stop that investment. So I think education is very important for that sake, is understanding why and stuff like that. But also on the other side, you didn't know what you're investing in, technically speaking, that could be very costly. And when people understand the power of compounded fees within the investment game, it is a mind-boggling statistic and number that you're going to look at when you see, hey, I paid 1% to this financial advisor, but all in, I might be paying 3%. That could be six figures. People say 1%, they're like, oh, that's nothing. Or even 75 basis points, when 0.75%. And people are going to be sitting there and being like, oh, it's not big deal. Then they look at the compounded fee effect over 20, 30 years. And they're like, wow, that actually and depending on how much you contribute, it could be millions of dollars in fees. And it's a very scary thing if you don't educate, which is why I hone in on education so great. Because when people started first asking me, hey, what should I invest in? The initial question, somebody's trying to get started. It's a very reasonable question, but you can't answer that directly. And I used to answer it with the answer of, hey, a Roth IRA, S&P 500 would be a great start. What I realized was once people got into that, they saw maybe volatility in the market or other things that naturally happen in the market, natural features of the market, and they freak out and panic sell, and it didn't actually help them. And so I stopped saying that answer. When people were like, hey, where should I put my first $100? I say education every single time, because I've actually experienced backlash from telling them the most simplistic investment of all time, Roth IRA, S&P 500, which makes sense for most people, obviously. That's not financial advice. But then, people will run with it and they'll expect just a linear straight line, and it just doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. You have to be patient. It's a long game, but you definitely have to be patient and consistent. And it's going to be up and down. It's going to be up and down, but it's like you said, the long game, the compound interest. So I always say that in my business, cause I'm automate, systems and automations is so I always say minutes add up to hours, but it's similar to what you're saying. It's pennies add up to dollars. You think oh, this small fee is fine, but it adds up after a while. So I love that. Well, Brennan, this has been like, I could go on and on because this is my other like love is like finance. And I've learned, and one of the things I love is like, you make your money work for you. We work so hard for our money now, and it's getting harder and harder. And so, to me, it's just like, you work so hard. Like, why are you not like making your money work for you?
Blows my mind. I tweeted, my first tweet yesterday was, you work too hard to be broke.
Yeah.
Like most people are doing things in their work life that are way more hard or challenging than investing and learning how to invest. Like if you can go to work and master the skill set that you have and you make the money you have, you can take the time to invest and learn how to invest and then do that and keep your money working forever for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I have two teenagers, and we recently just moved from Texas, and we were like selling our house. I'm like, we're just going to, we're going to rent till we sell, or we're downsizing, and my kids are like, oh, all these people have money. And I'm like, it's not like, what is that? That's like relative, because you have a big house and nice cars. Like that doesn't mean anything. And I think I'm trying to educate my kids on, there is like making money and there's building wealth. Like a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And if they lost their job, they would lose everything. Like there's a difference between like making a lot of money and building wealth. And you cannot tell by looking at somebody if they have wealth or they just make money. You know what I'm saying? And so
not at all. It's so easy to get a loan and get approved for a loan nowadays. And most people are living through credit cards and loans and HELOCs and stuff like that. And it's like, it's pretty easy to go get whatever you want in America, actually, as long as you have a decent, we're talking 6-figure income, decent income, because you can take loans out all over the place. But you're going to be stressed out up to your eyeballs, and it's not worth it.
It's not. I love it.
It comes back to the value aspect of it, values of money and values of like life in general. Like I'm big on like, people are like, why don't you go buy a fancy car and big house? I'm like, I have a very nice house in a very nice neighborhood and a very nice car. And that's what I'm good with it. I'm comfortable with it. I don't need the biggest house in the neighborhood or the best car. We drive a VW Atlas brand new. It's a very nice car. It's $40,000 vehicle. It's not cheap, but at the same time, I don't need the G-Wagon. Like that doesn't appeal to me. It appeals to me, our car for our family and our family needs. And that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not into cars at all either. I'm into like memories and creating memories. And I was just talking to my friend because I was saying, I was talking to my mom, and she's like, well, I was like, oh, I need to save because we moved and we're kind of trying to like get caught up with stuff. And she said something like, well, maybe you like shouldn't go to Italy this year. Cause I'm like, Mom, I said, me going to Italy would be like me going to California. Like I'm using all my points. Like I shop around, like we're not eating at fancy restaurants, like, so to me, it's just like you pick and choose, but it's like the memories are like, what's more important to me. I don't need a nice car. I don't need to eat out. I'm not a foodie. Like, you know what I mean? But it's just like, I don't need this big house. Like I don't need these things. Like so it's, priorities, I guess, but yeah. So I love that.
It's priorities, values. It's a lot of times I always tell people that get nice stuff is ask yourself truly why. Peel back the onion a little bit, because you can briefly on the surface say, oh, I like it. I like Mercedes. I like BMW. And if that's actually your deeper rooted reason you bought that, go for it. I don't have a problem with it, but it's usually not, to be honest.
Yeah. It's definitely always something else. Well, this has been like so fun. And like I said, I could go on and on. Brennan, tell my listeners how they can work with you and how they can find you.
Yeah. So on all social medias, it's Budgetdog at Budgetdog. On Instagram and Twitter is my two big hubs. I also have YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So you can search me there. Most of my people will work with me through Budgetdog Academy, and we have over 1,000 students in there, and we are working with people every single day, master whatever their financial needs are, whatever their goals are. There's no, one size fits all like Dave Ramsey. It's saying, hey, you come in with your particular need. We're going to get you from point A to point B as long as it's reasonable. And it's not, hey, I want to become a millionaire tomorrow. But if it's like, hey, I want to become a millionaire, how long can I do this? How short I can do this? That's what we do in Budgetdog Academy. We're introducing 7-figure club within there that really, really takes it up a notch to get you to that $1 million mark, because it's not as hard as people act like it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Brennan, I like to end all my shows with asking my guests 2 questions. So the first one is, what is a pet peeve? Give me your pet peeve.
My biggest pet peeve by like a long shot are people that say they want to do something, they talk about it, but they never take action. That irks me because I've been there. I've been there before, but I changed my mindset. And ever since I've changed my mindset around that, and when I say something, if I'm not serious about it, I put it to the side because I'm not going to lie to myself. If I'm serious about it, it goes on this whiteboard and it gets done. And so that is what I want people, especially my academy members, what I look for, people that want to take action. You don't have to be the smartest, the brightest, know everything about money. You have to want to take action. We got the rest for you.
Yeah. Same. If you want results, you got to do it. So awesome. Okay. What is a simple pleasure?
If my house is spotless, I have little girls, they run around, they throw up, they do all sorts of crazy stuff around here. If we have a clean house when I'm done working for the day, it's one of the most, the candles are on, the lighting's right, and just can sit down and enjoy it with my wife. That's my favorite time of the day.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one for me too. So awesome. Well, we will put all of Brennan's information in the show notes and on the website and all the things. So 100% give him a follow and check out, all of his stuff. He is just a ton of awesome information. So thanks, Brennan.
Thank you, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
Let's not stop the party here. Head on over to my Instagram or Facebook group, Redefine Your Business, and let me know your thoughts about today's show. I will see you again, same time, same place, next week.